Something I wanna tell you, baby. I've got something I want you to know. I'm in love with you, darling. Yeah. Oh, you're so good to me. And I feel that you need me. Oh, you're so plain to see. When I'm shaking in myself, your tenderness sets me free, and I know that you feel it. Whoa, 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 feel that you feel it. Whoa, that you feel it. I get that feeling for you, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Get it up, get it up, get it up, get it up. You just do everything like nobody else. And I need you beside me, yeah. I wanna give you myself. If I hurt you and you feel bad, your loving ways makes me sad. I feel, yeah, with all my heart. I keep feeling happiness. I just can't find happiness. And girl, it's all because I can't get over you. Hey baby, why, oh why, thinking of you makes me cry. No matter how I try, I'm gonna love you by and by,
They're out and here, change the recipe. We've got our combination fried rice.
get
And then we've got, of course, our chicken lettuce wrap, right? And this is the number one selling dish in the country.
Wow.
And has been since really we opened the restaurants 30 years ago. So it's amazing food, and then once you're done eating and you think you're full, then
We have dessert.
We show up with dessert, and we've got the Great Wall of chocolate here. It's called the Great Wall for obvious reasons, given how large the
Definitely
dessert is.
a great wall.
But it's, again, we want to really make a statement with the food. We want it to show up and really make an impression.
We about to get
it's
it
delicious,
done.
but also it's fun and it's entertaining and it's theatrical.
Yes.
And that's we call it theater at the table. So enjoy the food, but also have fun and enjoy the experience while you're there as well.
All right. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to enjoy the food.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's dig in. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining
I
me.
appreciate it.
All right, so there's that, and I think we have like one more. Oh no, yeah. Okay, so now we can talk about. We should probably slow down here because that's more about him. I meant to actually cover here the Red Lobster thing. So
first off, I mean, y'all hear this music, right? I mean, uh-oh. Oh, that's why. Okay, hold on. Of course, this would mess it up. Let me see if I do this. Not this again. Nah, come on, bro. Let me see if I do it this way. I'm running into technical difficulties. It's frustrating how this happens. I tried to switch to a scene. I guess that wasn't in use. Let me see. I do this. Then I go here. Come on, bro. Don't fail me like this, Twitch, please. My camera stopped working. Let's see if we can get it back. Come on, man. Come on, please. There we go. Okay. All right. All right. There's always something, bro. Okay. So now my camera should be back. Let me see. Can I go to what it? Let me see. Can I do this? Boom. Oh, okay. It's 5:01. Let's see if we can get this thing started. I think we're supposed to just do a Discord call. I don't know what's happening with trihex. We'll go ahead and call him up.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, my guy?
Oh, hey. I was waiting to see you when you are you already live?
I am live. Yes.
Okay, I must have streamer mode. I didn't know streamer mode like would hide if you were live or not. Okay, my bad. I would have actually gotten been more idle had that been the case here. Okay, no, I can I'll be ready in like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Let me take a second here and just
Two.
I'm gonna throw you some cam here. You see me?
Yep.
All right, cool.
You full screen, and I gotta
Oh,
capture
yeah.
that.
Bro, we can do this. We can do this, bro.
Yeah, we're doing better. We're doing better. We're not gonna spend 30 minutes on you know.
Okay, so I need to give you a green screen. I realize now that my green screen's actually I do it on my side in OBS, so I need to do it directly for you first, right? Would you prefer
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Let
Absolutely.
me do that right now then.
Okay. Let me see if camera's slightly. Our cameras are like this.
All right, let's see if that
Oh, it's a dimension thing. Get it?
helps. Hope that helps. Okay.
It does to some degree. Yep. Let's get
Right.
it.
Okay. Getting there one thing at a time. And then all right, 1 second chat.
Make this full screen. No. Okay. Well, that's that.
That's that, bro. That's that.
Yeah, I was bumping some Frankie Beverly music.
Okay.
That man has nothing but hits, bro. Nothing but hits. And I didn't grow up on him, but being in this band, like I learned all of his songs, or I learned all his hits. It's like, bro, he was him. He was him. That's why he was still able to tour for 40 years. You know what I'm saying, with the same hits. Like he didn't make new music. It was just like, nah, I'm just touring on the stuff that y'all remember from the 80s and the late 70s, and that was him. He was just him. Like they had a really big funeral for him in Louisiana. Like they were like carrying a casket and marching through the street, going crazy. They was doing your state is on some stuff, bro. Like you have to own it.
Yeah,
You got to get
no,
your people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
How I figure it out next time. I don't know how to.
What's up now?
Oh, no, it's just like the green screen, right? It's like black for me and not like transparent. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. It's okay. That's not a big deal though. It's not worth like falling over it. I just gotta. It was I actually like prepped everything on mine here, and it's an unforeseen thing on mine. So
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good. But the only thing missing here, I mean, is the last thing I can think of. Have everything on my end good to go. Is just this share chat thing. I don't know if you wanted to try it again and see if that works.
It didn't automatically do it.
So I sent you an invite, right? And you already you did it. Okay, there we go. I did it.
Okay.
All right, we're in there. I just had to click start share chat. I didn't know that was a. So what did you do there? What did you change?
I don't know. I just went to. Okay, so I went to.
Did you go to like the
I knocked
Twitch
on the thing, like the Twitch thing,
so
like that.
You did the knock on my Twitch.tv/trihex, like the regular stream page.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
it
now
just automatically. I think it maintained the settings from last time. I'm guessing.
Nice. Yeah, because I already had you pre-invited. Okay, cool. Then we're already there.
Yeah.
Trihex chat, say hello to Fanatics chat. You know, we're now in the shared chat experience. You know,
Yep, and vice versa.
all that stuff there.
The last time I think I started with the intro. You think you could wing an intro for this episode, or would you rather I do it?
I'm not good at that.
I got you.
You do it. You make it sound good, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna let that's you, bro. That's you. You shine on that one, bro, for sure.
Okay. I'll do it again. We're good. You're gonna have to do it eventually.
I'll work up to it. I'll work up to it, I promise.
All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Butter Pecan podcast. Last episode was episode 0. We were kind of,
You're muted. You're still muted, yeah. We'll have to do a take 2 on that one. Oh, and now you're Discord gonna Discord, y'all. Damn, that's unfortunate. I don't know what just happened, y'all.
that is hyper unfortunate. But whenever this happens, let me see. Please, OBS, don't screw me over. I'm trying to get it.
Oh no.
Last time
Well, I hear you at least. I hear you now.
Yeah. Let me see if I just deactivate and activate again. Will it fix it? And it will not. Please.
Oh.
All right, let me go to NVIDIA broadcast. Let me see if that can fix it.
Praise chat, praise.
Come on, man.
Oh.
Let me see.
And now your after image is like melting. I don't know what's going on.
It'll give me a. Oh my gosh. Come on, man. Not like this. We were doing.
I like.
We were doing good. It took me a second to get it working the first time, as it was. Let me see. I'm just unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay.
Come on, bro. Technical difficulties piss me off.
Why would my trying to think here.
There we go.
Oh,
There
hey,
we
you're
go.
back. Oh, yeah. I turned away and you're back. Okay, you did it.
Okay. I just got to make sure I don't let this cord go loose. And I forgot my pop filter. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Okay. Let's go. I try to keep the microphone as much off camera as possible, but it is what it is. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Butter Pecan podcast. Last time was episode 0. The last episode was episode 0. It was kind of like the pilot episode where we were trying things out, seeing how we would be able to do it, kind of testing the waters, testing for the very first time, combining chat and just making it a better experience for all of the viewers. And so I think we're steadily improving. And so this is our very first actual episode. There will be some continuation from the previous episode. The topics today. We'll be talking about Trump's dismantling of the Department of Education, some of the social fallout that's come from people who have been Trump voters and families and members and friends who have cut them off as a result of their vote. And the third part will be a continuation of the last topic from the last episode. We are both very excited to be here and to try to provide some insight and entertainment for all of you. So, yeah, we're going to start this one on off. I guess I'll start with an intro one more time. My name is Fanatic. Yeah. I go by Mr. Fanatic on most of my platform. I think my YouTube is Ask Fanatic. I am a musician, gamer, political pundit for some folks, podcaster, and I consider myself to be a conservative progressive and a biblical fundamentalist. And I have always been a very religious person, but also a very liberal person in the sense that I don't believe that there's any compulsion for me to push my views onto other people. I'm very comfortable with people living as they see fit and maximizing their own happiness as long as it doesn't encroach on someone else's. And that tends to inform the vast majority of my politics. Personal morality for me stems very, very much from the New Testament and the Bible. It has shaped me in a very, very serious way. I don't identify with either party. I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I can see some things that Republicans believe that that conservatives believe that I would agree with, and then obviously some progressive things that make all of the sense in the world. I'm a debater, and I focus primarily on Afrocentric points, specifically reparations. But I talk about everything, as you'll see within this podcast, and I am very honored to be here with Trihex, a person whom I consider a friend, a confidant, and just somebody that I feel that has been there for me in ways that I needed at times, and I've tried to reciprocate that. That's that.
All right. Well, Fanatic, that was a very flattering introduction here. And yeah, hello, everyone. Likewise, I'm the other component to the podcast, the Butterbacon podcast. I'm trihex. I for my intro here, I kind of wanted to tell you all more about who I am as well. And so a bit more if you don't know who I am. I'm a prolific speedrunner slash gaming esports athlete, if you want to call it that. I've been officially like in the speedrun circuit since 2004. I went full time with Twitch as a successful broadcaster since 2015. I primarily enjoy speedrunning, gaming, rhythm games, DDR, trading card games. I'm into sociology. I'm very much an artistic person. I was a animation major in university as far back as 2011 with the intention to actually have my dream job be working at Pixar by before age 40, believe it or not. Bit more relevant to where we are right now here. I'm the face of probably the most banned emote on Twitch, the tryhard emote. It being the most popular depiction of a clearly black person means it's victim to a lot of unfortunate utilizations of dog whistles. So in the end there, I became aware that my blackness was overtly political, whether I wanted it to be or not at that point. The emote happened in 2012, but by 2015, it was definitely used for a dog whistle or a surrogate for the N word in a lot of chats, and it ended up getting banned in a lot of chats, including but not limited to the official Twitch chat. Actually, twitch.tv/Twitch. It's actually banned there if you didn't know. And a bit more about me politically. Again, maybe we'll cover more about that in another episode when we get a chance here. But politically, I was pretty disengaged, and I got active whenever I saw Senator Bernie Sanders rise to national fame with his attempted 2016 presidential run. I became woke and couldn't really unwoke at that point whenever I saw, like, when I was aware of the fact that economic populism does seem tangible if we remove all the monetary interest in politics and all the corruption and all the status quo enabling apparatuses that are currently rotting through the likes of Congress and U.S. politics altogether. So I've been really excited to like push for a better tomorrow in that regard. And I still to this day fight for economic populism, among other things as well politically here, which I'll be happy to get into more detail with our boy Fanatic as we enter now topic 1. So,
Okay, do you want to kick it off or do you want me to?
Well, you during your intro you said that topic 1 was going to be I don't know if you want to do the part.
Oh, I just mentioned them in
first,
different orders, but yeah.
Or if you want to do or if you want to open with the social fallout one, the social fallout and stigma of Trump voters.
Yeah.
After election, let's start with that one actually.
For sure. Let's get it.
Let's go there. Then I'm just gonna drop this real quick. All right, y'all. So this topic right here is I love getting into social dynamics. I find it very, very interesting here. So this topic here, so you may recall in 2020 the Trump supporting base. This is like more than just let's just call it generally like Republicans, but especially the MAGA core of Republicans. We can describe them as like sore losers. They were immediately in denial that the election was like gone, and you may recall that they were just like completely sore losers for several years, if not nonstop. I even argue here that the normalization that like Trump lost and that Biden won didn't really cement in that circle until like late 2023. It was because that's when Trump started to finally start admitting in certain interviews that, oh yeah, actually yeah, when I lost, or when I win this time is what we would see slip up in certain interviews and whatnot. And going forward now 2024, a much more unhinged, much more radicalized base now. What happened here is Trump did win, maybe to their surprise. I'm not quite sure here, but it seems to be there's like now a lot of a general narrative that Trump voters are surprised that they're being exiled and being excluded from social gatherings like Thanksgivings or family reunions, or that, when family members are finding out news that they voted for Trump or that they were supporting Trump up to the election, that like, okay, listen, this is more than just politics. Like your moral compass is borked. And they're kind of they're kind of caught off guard here. And I think it's an interesting social dynamic to get into here.
Yeah.
So what do you think here about Trump voters who are? What I'm seeing is they're surprised that people are mad at them. I guess like family members are mad at them now or whatever. Is that an accurate way to describe it, or how would you put it down?
I mean, I think that is accurate. I mean, yeah, the fallout I'm seeing, I see some people being crying and saying, "Oh, my family cut me off" and things like that, and and I see like parallels drawn where people say, Why can't we just love each other even though we see things differently? Why can't we still respect one another even though we disagree on certain things? By the way, is it pecan or pecan?
That's up to you.
Tomato tomato?
Pecan's more like a really like deep south kind of thing. Pecan or I say pecan personally.
Okay,
Butter pecan.
I'm a pecan guy too. All right, so yeah, I feel like the social fallout for a lot of people is, again, I've seen these parallels where people will say, well, liberals are supposed to be the people who are significantly more, tolerant, et cetera, and that Republicans are labeled as bigoted, but the liberals are rather intolerant of Republicans, specifically MAGA. And I've seen that conversation happening. I saw a video of a guy who wore a MAGA hat at a Kamala rally, and then he went to a Trump rally wearing a Kamala Biden or Kamala Walls 2024 hat. And
Right, he wore the opposition at at the rally.
yes.
Okay.
And what he said was, and it was so insane to me because I feel like he thought he made a banger of a video, but it didn't make any sense. So he said, at the Trump rally that, yeah, he saw some people and that they were like, kind of being nice to him and saying that they disagreed, etc. He got an interview with some people where he was explaining what it was, etc. And then he said when he went to the Kamala Harris rally that he felt very, very unsafe and so on and so forth. Now, he didn't have any demonstrated things that he should have been unsafe, but he felt unsafe. I just felt like people weren't going to be and it's like that. If all we're going to go off of is your feelings, you didn't really prove anything there. But I think it opens up the conversation about why these two things are different. And I think I'm of the opinion, I'll just say very briefly, that they're not equivalent, and I can understand why people would hold the two different, like why people would feel more intolerant of MAGA than they would of the inverse.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that voting Trump in 2020 or 2016 is a very different thing than voting Trump in 2024. His 2024 campaign, quite respectfully, the last 2 years has been some of the most like racist, blatantly misogynistic, blatantly anti-rights, and just a buffet of misinformation that's just completely fueled by hatred because it has no basis in it. We can just kind of focus on if we just again the one that really got me that sticks with me here still is the Haitians eating the dogs and cats. That one being uttered during the that one being or I don't know. I can't tell which one's like more annoying. Is it the Haitians eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio, or is it the illegals crossing the border and taking black jobs? And then doubling down on black jobs at that Black Journalist Summit. I don't know which one's more gross. Both are really fucking gross there, but like that just kind of shocked me, and I'm kind of sad that like white America didn't like take that one a little bit more to like, damn, bro, that's kind of crazy, right? Well, anyways, I'm getting caught here. The point the point there being though, yeah, like clearly a 2024 for Trump is like you have to like overlook a lot of he's being a dictator, he's showing some fascist tendencies, and yeah, he's being totally racist here, but he's the economy guy, he's gonna fix it. What's his plan? I don't know, but he's going to get it done. And it's just like, man, at some point you got to have like some kind of like guiding substance here to cast that vote. And I just feel like, it just feels like the kind of the cliche thing of like, yeah, you just don't care. You're okay with retracting back on women's rights. You're okay with like, this person who's like demonstrably corrupt in many, many ways here. And just how do you reach these people, bro? They're just like, they're so caught in the cult hive mind. I don't really know what to do other than just like, exclude them from my social circle because they're so toxic. It'd be one thing if they're more passive in their engagement, but I mean, for these people who are looking this far past all the flaws of Trump and still cast a vote anyway, it's like, that it's partially their personality. And the minute you poke on anything, the convo will inevitably pivot into that here. To me now, Thanksgiving is kind of permanently ruined. Like, the family gathering, I got a lot of them. There's some like Trump nuts, and it's kind of like, bro, I can't. I don't know what I even say because you're gonna make the combo overtly political because you're so eager for validation that like Trump's gonna get it done, or Trump is already doing it, or that Trump did things that he didn't do. Like, you're so busy fact checking and correcting here, you can't even engage in the conversation. Honestly, if you were to bother at all.
Okay, I can see that. It's really insane. I've already told you I have a humongous family. 4 older brothers, 2 older sisters, mom and dad, same mother and same father for all of us. So we're a nuclear family of 9. And because of that, you got to believe that there's going to be differences in opinions for a lot of them. And I think did give me a certain level of tolerance to where it helps me to like kind of navigate these things. For instance, I personally couldn't cut off a Trump voter because they voted for Trump, not a family member. I'm not lying if I'm saying, I would be lying if I said I didn't lose respect. I will lose respect for your intellect. I will lose respect for some of what I would say is your character if you do those things. But I've always lived in a way, again, where my morality is pretty specific. I'm a like very ascetic person, so it's hard for me to project my moral system and my beliefs onto other people. So I understand that different things motivate different people, so I understand why other people might make decisions that differ from mine. But again, I think cutting a family member off is really severe. I just think I would lose a lot of respect for their intellect and their morality. I also disagree entirely about the black jobs things, but that's not the topic, so I don't know how we might need to put a pin in that and talk about that at a later date.
Okay. Well, we don't
Unless you
have to
feel like we
engage in
can
it.
go.
We don't have to engage in it. We can. You disagree about what? You disagree that black jobs wasn't racist, or like
I
you
didn't feel
disagree
like
it
it
wasn't
was
offensive?
I didn't feel like it was offensive, racist. I felt like it was actually very, very. I hate using this word. I'm not going to use the word. I think it was grounded in reality, and I think it was a very sensible talking point, and I agreed with it.
Okay. All right. That is okay. Wow. That I was not ready for the bombs to be dropped here today. Okay. We'll have to
We'll
come
table
back
it
to
for
that
the
one
end.
then. Yeah, we'll have to attack that one there because I'm like, okay, bro. All right. Let's we'll resolve this topic then, I suppose here.
Sure.
So this is a topic that you pitched, and I don't have any like real personal anecdotes to share about this. I'm a
Yeah.
painfully online person, and I have to make conscious effort to like go, see my folks. They're like 40 minutes away from where I am, out in the country, and Thanksgiving hasn't really been a thing for me for like since comfortably 2019. So, but that wasn't because of Trump. That was because of like rather the quarantine, COVID, and just like half my family just super anti-vax, and things just kind of like drifted away. With the Thanksgiving for me became Friendsgiving more so, and that's kind of where I've been operating on at this time now here. I'm still close with my mom clearly, but it's more like my cousins, and I got these like kind of off the kind of crazy uncles and all that. It's a little much.
Sure.
And I haven't seen them in a while, so it's just kind of like those drifts kind of came and went there, I'd say. Whoever I didn't deliberately put conscious effort to maintain that relationship with, COVID kind of like made that drift really happen. And now we're going on like what's going to be approaching 5 years soon, so it kind of is what it is.
So I mean I do both. I do Thanksgiving and Friendsgiving. What's really funny is two of my very, very close friends. A while ago I was engaged and I was considering getting married and all those things, and I was going to have six best men. Or not six best men, six groomsmen. One best man and five groomsmen. And all of those people were people who at one point at a point in time in my life I considered this is my very, very best friend. One person was like my closest friend from like age 4 to age 18. Then we kind of drifted apart. Life took us whatever when I hit adulthood. Then another person became like my best friend for like probably 3-4 years. Then another person became my best friend for 3 or 4 years. And Knives became one of my best friends for like multiple years. And so all of these people were going to be like my groomsmen. And two of them are Trump supporters. I'm not going to say who those two are because I don't know if they want that out there. But
for sure,
what it did was two of my friends are particularly close. Two of those people are particularly close. People who would have been my groomsmen, and those people had like almost a really serious falling out because one of them like was very conservative, and one of them is very much a leftist, and he felt almost kind of betrayed by the fact that this conservative was like hanging out with him all this time and didn't tell him. I felt like, again, I have to respect people's ability to disagree because ultimately I know people don't disagree with me. I'm a biblical fundamentalist. So then if I had like disdain for everyone who didn't believe like me, there would be very few people that I would actually be able to get along with. I do believe that there is an argument that a party can be so offensive, so racist, so heinous that to support that party is to endorse a lot of the things that they're doing. And so as a result of that, you do create a bit of enmity between your ideology and mine. And so that if someone is doing something harmful to me and you can still back that person despite the harm that they're generating, then it speaks to an apathy of concern for me. But it depends on what your motivation for voting is. Some people will only vote Trump literally because they believe that the economy would be better under Trump. Some people will vote that way for that alone. They're not interested in trans issues or LGBTQ issues or race issues,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. How do I tell a person that they have to value the race issue that I value more so than they value the economic issue that defines them? I don't think I have a leg to stand on, but I do understand some people will feel that way. So then it's a difficult thing to navigate because I can't tell other people how to react. I can't tell people other people how to feel. But I do think a genuine friendship, a genuine bond, like a familial bond, should be ranked higher than a political ideology. I still feel that way, even if I'm going to be losing respect for the person who voted for Trump. Not all respect, because there's going to be familial bonds and stuff like that are outside of the scope of that political ideology. You think that's fair?
And you're hitting me. That's a hard question right there. Not gonna lie, I have not had this really challenge too much. If anything, I actually had and I kind of get something a little bit personal here, but I was kind of confronted privately by a friend by 2021 or 2022 here that because they used to come over to the house and we would all like play Smash and eat pizza or whatever, like on certain days. We just kind of gather here because like my crib was like the easiest one for everyone to come rendezvous at. And they stopped coming, I guess, because I was so overtly political. I don't recall really bringing up politics when they would come over and just like do Smash, but apparently these microaggressions had accumulated up here, and they all kind of just like didn't really want to talk politics there.
Yeah.
But that's what a friend privately had told me, and I guess I've been kind of like socially stigmatized because I feel like in my situation it's more like, well, when they complain about the gas prices, I can bring it to its logical endpoint where it's like, okay, you're crying about gas right now under Biden, but you're comparing it to whenever it was artificially low during COVID because of global supply chain, and we can go into the substance about that and why things are how they are and if it's doing better or not. But then they don't really want to have a convo about the substance of like inflation rates or gas prices or oil barrels or anything like that here. If you go too far into the weeds on that kind of thing, you just kind of lose them, and because they don't have anything to add to that combo, right? You out info them, and then they're just kind of like, okay, this is like, you're a nerd, I guess, or whatever. Here, you're just not matching their enthusiasm for the topic in hand, and then I kind of just killed the combo. But it felt like they cared enough to bring it up to that topic. They did the classic Dunning-Kruger. They're like bringing up in confidence, and I'm just like, well, you sound really confident about a thing you don't really know much about, so. I just don't know really what to do there. I feel like I kind of like hurt myself in a way, and I had to learn how to adapt to just like kind of like not making things get so. If people bring things up, just I let them lead a lot now. I try not to like overwhelm anyone in the conversation, I suppose. And I deliberately dumb it down to just more like, okay, if they want to go into an anecdote, we'll just speak in the anecdotes, but I'll use my anecdote to tactically bring it to something of more policy or causation if I know the cause of what they're complaining about.
Sure.
Whether it be like, used car prices like going up to a record high, or it be like whatever they're going to complain about, So I don't have much experience with like what you're bringing up here, where I have to like deal with an extended family for a prolonged period of time, or even in the best friend category. I just kind of maybe also like you're in California and I'm in Louisiana. I'm in a much more like red state, so I deal with way more of the low information, like you're alluding to here, right? Economy, single issue people. That's the whole thing here. It's low information or single issue voters. They are voting for or against pro-life or pro-choice, or they're just voting for the economy with no substance of like what Trump's going to do for the economy. Just that he sells the concept of a plan, and they kind of just go with that, right? So
100%. Man, I want to point out to you that I learned somewhat of the hard way, similarly, to kind of let other people lead. I'm a hyper opinionated person, just as you are, and I do spend a lot of times like kind of perseverating on different ideas and researching a lot and coming to this knowledge. And so then when people say stuff, like I think, oh, this is like an invitation. You want to have a conversation. So then I think I'm going to start talking to you about whatever said thing is. But then very frequently you start realizing, oh no, you don't know anything about this. This is just, there's just like kind of a passing thing that you've done with like almost no investment whatsoever. We can't even have a genuine topic on it. And if I go into that conversation, it's going to leave you in the dust, and you might even feel belittled and things like that. So I had to start learning this balance of how do I even have these conversations? And a lot of times it feels like death to self in a way, where I'm sitting here and I have this urge almost to correct what you're saying, and I just instead sometimes just nod my head and just kind of smile and go like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, sure. And I do this kind of thing where it's not an engagement. It's just me saying the passive thing so that you recognize that I'm acknowledging that I heard you speak, but I don't want to engage because I know where this conversation goes. Whereas if it wasn't for the fact that I'm trying my best not to rustle feathers, we would be having this conversation quickly. And I would be explaining to you very quickly why what you're saying is completely ridiculous. So it's kind of like a learned behavior of survival of like, oh, people
Yes,
don't
yes.
engage in this way, and I have to limit the way I engage with them. But then
Totally.
Trump supporters feel that way as well, where in a lot of situations, and it's not the exact same way. It's not one to one because it's not like they feel like they have superior knowledge. Actually, very often they do feel like they have superior knowledge.
They do.
even though
They are drunk in the Dunning-Kruger here. I don't know what you're talking
A
about.
billion percent, I agree. But what you'll find is that a lot of times, like Trump supporters, they are in the same boat of I don't want to rustle feathers, so I can't talk about it. I can't really communicate with you, and so then as a result of that, then there's like this secret, private Trump vote that exists within these people because they know that other people would be very, very intolerant of them.
Yeah. Um, no, I can agree with that. I kind of wanted to just like you asked me that question that's still in my mind right now. You asked me how do I feel about putting personal friendships above political affiliation, right? That's a tough one for me because I haven't been pressed on that yet here, but also I don't really push. I again after that 2021 private convo I had, I'm like, maybe I'm unaware of like I'm unaware of how other people maybe in my head when I'm communicating about politics, it comes off a different way. So kind of like what you were saying there, I've learned to just not poke the bear and not challenge people as much, unfortunately. And so I'm much more politically passive now. I mean, look, I'm in Louisiana. I see Trump flags and Blue Lives Matter flags and MAGA like skinned out trucks nonstop. It's like it's everywhere here. MAGA gear on Zoomers, on Gen Z, like little youngins running around with that shit on now, and I'm like, damn, bro, okay, that's crazy. And I just kind of like I'm just passive on it. I don't really know how to like. What was I gonna say about this actually? I don't know. I just don't bother anymore. I just kind of dissociate from it.
Sure.
So I don't really engage.
So let me.
But
Oh,
because
go
if I
ahead.
did engage, I feel like you were saying, my respect would go down, and because if I were to challenge them on like, well, because logically it's like, okay, well, like you're endorsing these like vehemently racist, exclusionary things, and does that not bother you?
Right.
It's kind of that's where my confrontation would go into that. You're guided by bigotry or some kind of like because like you don't have any substance over like what you're into here. Like you're supporting Trump, but like and you say he's an economy guy. Well, then it's like yeah, tell me a policy that he's into that you're pro economy on. Like or tell me like what he did in the first term that was like pro economy. Like
Right.
Biden cleaned the whole fucking mess here. I mean, what do you want to get into? 2018 tax cuts. You want to get into like a 2019 deregulation. You want to talk about like, pick one, Steve Mnuchin being the U.S. Treasury Secretary, dude looted the whole thing out to corporations all the way through here. The administration was full of cronies and Wall Street goons that would make the '08 bailout look like a training day comparatively.
Yeah.
But again, when you get into all this shit though, you just lose them, right? They don't know all these fucking names. They don't know that kind of shit here. So it's
They
just
don't.
like it's insulting how little they know, but how confident they are. So before I get like triggered and like go off on them and evacerate them, if I were to, in the playground of logic, it's like, no, just it's not even worth this. What will this battle do? It won't convince me anything. They'll just disengage when they get overwhelmed and whatnot and walk away or whatever.
Yeah,
So
it's a hard thing. It is a hard thing. I feel like on an individual level, depending on the level of intimacy in the conversation, people can be one. But I think a lot of times it takes. You're not going to see everything happen at once. I look at it like kind of like proselytizing my faith, right? If I'm talking to somebody about who I am and like me as a Christian or whatever, yada yada yada, and I'm trying to like share the gospel to a person, I don't typically expect someone to me to have a single conversation with the person and they go, you know what? Oh my God, you're right. Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and I'm a Christian now. Like, it's not going to happen. That's not the way life works for the vast majority of people. Typically, you kind of chip away at things. In fact, there's like studies that have demonstrated that like people who are in like leftist circles slowly but surely become more and more left leaning just socially over time, just from like encountering the arguments enough and so on and so forth. So I do think it's like, again, it's a little piece at a time. It's a little piece at a time. I had a friend, a girl broke up with him because she found out that he voted for Trump, and she went completely ham and said, oh, you hate women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and just all of these things, right? This person is a lifelong conservative, lifelong, like him and his family have pretty much always exclusively voted Republican, and it wasn't about that kind of, I mean, Trump just happens to be the Republican now. And so in that situation, like she went really belligerent, like very, very disrespectful in every way, shape, or form. Very, very, very aggressive. Didn't matter that he had been inside her probably the day before. At that point, it was like, oh, you did this? The only way we have a chance of even making it is the idea that you have to vow to never vote for another Republican for the rest of your life. Like, it was just very, very like line in the sand. Either you are exclusively a Democrat or we're not going to make it because my rights are being taken away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was like pretty extreme. And I thought, again, maybe this is my own like projection, but I just think of how frequently I encounter ideas and ideologies that completely differ from mine, right? And I've just learned to be tolerant. Like the world, the United States, is very secular, and I am very, very Christian, but I'm tolerant of secular ideologies. So then in the same sense, I would think some people could be tolerant of ideologies that differ than theirs, even in the political sphere.
You think USA is very secular?
Oh, sure, for sure.
I don't know. Bro, I think geographically here, because I was gonna now bring into this next point about the whole thing where like I thought about it more now. And well, first off, to end that sentence here, you're in California, I'm in Louisiana. These are like night and day different things here. So like
100%, sure.
So I can already tell here that you're more sympathetic and you think you can reach. I'm gonna be a bit geographical reductionist here, but like you think you can reach across the aisle and engage with like function and purpose with like a Californian Trump supporter. On my end, I can tell what's governing my actions here. It's that like these Louisiana Southerners, Southern white men that I'm overwhelmingly seeing with the Trump stuff here. I can't reach them, bro. I can't even like, it's me challenging directly their core value the whole way through. If I bring up that Trump is not who they think it is, I'm already an enemy. If I fact check them on any things that they falsely attribute to Trump's success, I'm a hater and whatnot here. And then if it's coming from a black source, they probably will add another racial filter into the whole thing here. Oh, here's this black dude know-it-all trying to like tell me about, and I don't want to make it that way, but that's kind of like, because it's so already like stacked against me here, it feels like I'm pretty much in a 24/7 Trump rally outside, and but also I'm the one black reporter asking like the neutral question. It's different if like the white passing person asks the neutral question to a Trump supporter, they'll go more mask off. They feel less judged.
Right.
The black man with the obvious visible fro and big black nose is going to clearly make them feel the need to like present a little bit more to not be overtly racist,
Right.
So in this case here, I just feel like it's like a lot harder for me to even bother there because I already feel like I'm creating animosity to myself
For sure.
at that point.
All right.
Which is the same reason why I don't have like I didn't have a Bernie yard sign in 16 or 2020. I don't have like a Bernie or any kind of like political affiliation bumper sticker. These boys have like Trump shit everywhere, all over the place. I keep it apolitical just to not put a target on my back for my own survival instinct here. So it's a bit different out here, I would say. A little bit of apples to oranges, I would say, for sure.
I totally agree. And I think it makes all the sense being in the South and how religious those people are in general, why there would be a total difference in perspective. but we got outros here. I'm gonna give a minute and a half. You do the same, and we'll go.
Okay,
we
sure.
Get to
I can roll
topic
with that.
2. So what I'm just gonna say briefly is I genuinely believe that relationships and family and love and camaraderie and all those things aren't defined on any single thing. Just like I wouldn't define any of my relationships on religion as a whole, I wouldn't define any of my relationships on politics as a whole, and I wouldn't define any of my relationships on gaming as a whole, because there's been such a crossover where some of my gaming friends are like, we become like really, really close personal friends that extends so far beyond gaming. And likewise, I think that there's going to be people that I'm just going to have some disagreements with about certain things, but ultimately, if it gets to the point that I can't have conversations with my family, then it seems like there's something wrong there. Because all conversations should be had from a basis of respect, mutual respect. And again, it's hard to respect like an abject Trump supporter. It is going to be harder to respect them, but I will always look for respect in other arenas where it's like, okay, I don't respect your political opinions, but I respect your character, or I respect your heart towards me. I respect things that you've done for me in the past. I respect things that we share together, memories that we've had, et cetera, et cetera. And those things typically are going to usurp any sort of disdain I have for the political decision you made. And I think that's the optimal way to be, because ultimately we have to have conversations and growth in order to be able to move forward as a country. If all we do is just divide and cut off, then that just puts people in these bubbles where they will never be reached. And it further entrenches people in these really bad positions.
Okay. For my outro, I will conclude some points I had here actually. So let's I'm just gonna bang through this real quick here. So in the end, I think here that women are particularly disgusted with husbands or men or boyfriends or deep affectionate romantic inclinations, because a vote for Trump feels like it's explicitly anti-women's rights. The fact that Project 2025 explicitly spells out here that they want to like abolish no-fault divorce, another reinforcement here that the war on reproductive rights and the abolishing further of abortion is really just, it's not about any kind of like concern for the women. It's really about control and proliferating on just like a patriarchy of men dominant society here. Why else would you want to outline removing no-fault divorce if not for the fact that like now there needs to be, by the way, just to give you an idea here, no fault divorce is whenever like, the woman or the both parties have to agree to divorcing rather than just having one participant in the party agree. So there needs to, like, if you see red flags of like a potential abuser or rapist and you want to get out of that, before, I want to say before like the mid 60s, you couldn't do this. Actually, it required the men's. It's very similar to like women getting hysterectomies and all that. Here, you need the husband's explicit written permission to even operate in your own body for your own choice and whatnot. So it just feels like it's an attack on women's rights. And in the end, here the vague guise of economic recovery just doesn't really cover what could be seen as like a personal betrayal to the women in question here. So I'm not, honestly, for me, a bit of a hot take here. I actually understand where perhaps your friend's girlfriend may have come from, though I don't know the context of how she did it here. But this is not an uncommon thing. This has been happening there. There's been tons of phone banking evidence here. The fact that like during the Harris campaign for phone banking, that many times the Republican husband saw would deliberately the women and the wives here felt ostracized. They couldn't even feel safe even like engaging with Harris campaign phone bankers because the husbands were so vehemently against the whole thing with their Trump drone thing and everything else here. So that's kind of where I would end it on. But we'll have to kind of come back and go further into what this could mean in the future. But yeah, the social complications of Trump voters, very, very interesting here. I almost want to call them in a way sore winners, but they certainly were sore losers in 2020.
Oh my gosh.
But it feels kind of a bit weird now.
100%. Okay. Well, that's that. I think that was a pretty good conversation. I think topic 2 it's also particularly interesting. This conversation was about Trump's like determination that he wants to dismantle the Department of Education. Now, as a lot of you guys know, That was something that was very, very clear and outlined in Project 2025 that they wanted to dismantle the Department of Education. Now, Trump knew nothing about Project 2025. He just hired several of the authors. Several of the authors were people who had worked for Trump and were part of his administration at various levels in his administration. So the idea that he knew nothing about it sounds crazy, especially when he keeps telling you over and over again, I intentionally didn't read it because I want to say I don't know anything about it. I intentionally didn't read it because I know that he knows that he probably agreed with the vast majority of that. So then it's better not to read it. To be talking about you want to be the president of the United States and you have one of the largest conservative think tanks in the world, I think the fourth largest think tank, period, and they're talking about this article for the conservative perspective, and you running on the conservative ticket don't want to read it. Sounds crazy to me. Why would that be? Anyway, with that being said, he is dismantling the Department of Education. And I think that there's going to be insane fallout from that. I think the only people who would value, like, who would agree with that type of action are people who don't know what the Department of Education does, what its value is, and why it's so important for American culture and just for education in general. So this is one of the greatest blunders that Trump could do. One of, but we're going to see so many more of these over time.
Yeah. So I think it is worth going into a bit of the substance of like what the Department of Education does and what is at stake here if such a thing were completely to be abolished. But I think before I get into that here, I think it's more important to perhaps psychoanalyze those who are endorsing this or who are into it or who perceive it as like a good thing. I know it's like a really stupid thing to like endorse, but so is also the idea that Trump's gonna fix the economy. It's just like, the thing I'm concluding here is that like the modern voter now, like the majority, right, the normie, if you will, they are not substance or rehearsed on policy. They don't know civics, and they're very much they're aware that they don't like how things are now, right? Groceries are too high, things are unaffordable, rent's too damn high, housing is too expensive, everything's just cost of living is out of control and whatnot, for sure. They're generally unsatisfied with the current economic climate, and they're yearning for a revolution. So anyone who's feeding them the narrative of like, let's just like nuke this shit and create a whole new thing seems to be what's in their favor. Like they're probably not happy with how the education paradigm currently is in USA, and they're not happy with the economic one either. And they're just kind of like, anyone who's promising just kind of like do something sounds more appealing, even if it's a radical thing, than perhaps the contrast of like a democratic messaging, which is more like perceived as, not saying it is, but perceived as incrementalism. We're gonna dab here and there and do a couple of little tweaks, and hopefully it'll get better and whatnot. We're applying glue sticks and rubber bands rather than like reconstructing the whole thing here.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of important to start there. But yeah, from here now, if you want to get into the Department of Education here, I mean, generally how I perceive it is that the Department of Education is a federal entity that is like generally there to help establish a baseline standard of quality for education nationwide. They don't dictate really anything. You still have your local school board jurisdictions that will determine here what's taught, what curriculums are adhered to, and things like that. They're not like the single like distributor of funds here. That is still done by like local property taxes and from state budgets. They only the Department of Health and Human Services and the there's like a subdivision Department of Agriculture that handles like the whole like the school lunch thing. But in the end here, it's only 8% of accumulatively those three departments that does the total $1.15 trillion nationally for education. So they're a very small part. So when I hear the arguments of the deficit hawks, ready to like chop, I'm like, yeah, well, that's not exactly, the DOE is not like the thing that's like hemorrhaging money across the whole way there. It's all predominantly locally funded. And it comes back here to the whole, if you want to get into the nitty gritty here, let's talk about how property taxes allocate an unfair win-lose situation for if you're poor and in a bad area, and how those schools continue to have no resource to actually improve. Further exacerbated by the 2002 George Bush No Child Left Behind Act. But, they don't want to hear all that crap, though, anyway.
Sure.
So, So what are your thoughts before I yap any further here? What do you got?
I mean, I totally agree with everything that you said. I like the idea that we have like a federal institution whose job it is to kind of standardize education to a certain degree to make sure that there's a baseline of quality. They're like literally specifically responsible for providing funding for special needs education. Right, which can apply to autistic people or any other disabilities that are needed. The federal government is like very, very much responsible specifically for that. I think it's called, is it like IDEA? Oh, I have to look it up. Yeah, it is. It is Individuals with Disability Education Act. That is what makes them have to have a certain standard of education. I have two autistic nephews. Both of them were like hyper reliant on that because the local public schools were trying to do everything they could to undermine some of their care. But simply because of the fact that there was a requirement for a specific standard of education is why they were able to make certain appeals and why the school district eventually got sued and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And my nephew was able to get his one-on-one, his occupational therapist, his speech therapist, his iPad, his all of these things, behavioral therapist, all of these things. So with that being said, it's absolutely necessary. Then we can talk about what specifically things that they have done that the Department of Education is responsible for when it comes to making sure that low income people have specific funding, things like STEM and things promoting education in those regions. They're responsible for the Pell Grant. That comes from Department of Education, the federal government, which helps people be able to go to college without going into massive amounts of debt. If you're using the Pell Grant, especially at like a community college and things like that, the combination of state services and the Pell Grant can make it to where actually going to school is like legitimately profitable if you're going to like a public, a community college and things like that. And you can still get an AA like without going into any debt, and it'll actually help subsidize your living while you become an educated person. And an educated population is obviously more advantageous, more productive, et cetera, et cetera. So if we want to believe in this American working dream, the Department of Education is actually helping to fund and create opportunities for that American dream. And so the idea of dismantling it either reeks of ignorance or hatred, because if you hate poor people and low minorities and minorities and low income people and all of those things, then yeah, sure, get rid of the Department of Education, because nothing is going to hurt them more than that.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Let's keep spitting because we can go. We got some time to fill here. I like this actually. So let's go into the biggest negative here because I do want to go into I want to go into other benefits that you didn't list that I think are worth sharing, but I also want to go into like what's at stake with the DOE being, I guess in this case, like advocated to be abolished. And the main one I think people would probably latch onto. I'm choosing this one here not because it's the worst one, but rather because it's the one I think will trigger an emotional response from people who are unaware or underinformed. The DOE is responsible for, like you said, individual education plans, IEPs. And so this is like, if we're not just talking about special ed kids. We're not just talking about special needs kids. We're talking about broadly, whether you need speech therapy, whether you need, we're talking about handicap accessibility. We're talking about like handicap ramps. If you need an elevator for a 3-story building, like these things are like these mandates to have those things taken care of and are funded to have those things happen are all, wheelchair accessible water fountains. We're just talking about like the whole shebang here. Like if the DOE is abolished here, then any of those accommodations or those programs or any of that stuff here is all at the behest of a state budget. And I promise you what'll happen then is that I think the red states that are not already economically not great, they get carried federally by the blue states with their GDP and revenue. You'll see here a lot of haves and have-nots. And guess what? You're going to very quickly see someone who's California educated versus someone who is Arkansas educated. And it will be a night and day difference. Arkansas education is going to be learning that dinosaurs aren't real and that the Earth's 2,000 years old. And then on the other end here, you're just going to not be real world ready. It's fundamentally anti-education. We're just abolishing a standard of accountability, and it's going to be letting loose local politicians going fucking nutty.
Well, just to correct you really quick, as a biblical fundamentalist, it's not 2,000. The Earth is 6,000 years old. I read my Bible and I know.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm kidding.
I was even a hill I was going to die on.
I'm kidding. I'm not a biblical literalist. I'm just being a silly idiot. But yeah, you're 100% right. But I think we already have that now. We already see, like, there's like in rural areas and like in red states, that the education level, the literacy rates and all those things are already significantly worse. They're already a less educated population, point blank, period. So it sounds insane to me, but the people who genuinely already are failing their people on education are doing more to like fail their people on education. But this also just fits into the Republican ideology. What Republicans have always been about is about big business, and big business means somewhat privatizing the education process. That's what they want to do. That's why Betsy DeVos was made the Secretary of Education last time when Trump was in the presidency. And who was Betsy DeVos? One of those people who was like, one of the owners of these charter schools, of a foundation that like operated charter schools, and that was her area of work. And that was her area of income. So when that person is advocating for school choice, what school choice means, and what Republicans kind of slip under, is that school choice means that now that we'll start kind of generalizing the amount of funding that happens, so that people can start using their funding to go to private institutions, so that they can start going into their enclaves and stripping everyone else of their education. And that's what they've always done since Brown versus Board of Education 1 and 2 passed, right? People always talk about part 1. Part 2 was the part where, they said that they needed to work, not with due diligence, with due speed. What was it? What was the word? I can't remember the exact phrase, but either way, the fact of the matter was, all of this segregation in education happened as a result of Brown versus Board of Education, where all the red states started passing what they called pupil placement laws, which started creating zoning and things like that so that they could place people into specific schools. Private schools were erected during this time that were like pretty much like they knew that would be a barrier.
Legal segregation, yeah.
And the people are still segregated to this day. Let's talk about teachers for a second, because this is something that the Department of Education is also particularly responsible for. There are always teacher shortages and training gaps. Yeah. And the Department of Education is specifically responsible for creating programs to train teachers that can adequately meet the needs of children in these schools, which there's always a shortage for science and mathematics. For people who are experts in that field. And because of the shortage, then schools might hire people who aren't adequately prepared, adequately fit to teach these children. The Department of Education is responsible for even doing the bit that it can in order to offset some of those shortages. So if you want to see people get dumber and get and lose education in science, technology, and mathematics. Now, mind you, Republicans are always talking about how blue liberals want to get education in gender studies and all these other things, and but then you're getting rid of the department who's responsible for advocating for STEM. Everything about this is just bad. It's just bad in every way.
Well, okay, not just bad. I want to say here, bad and stupid. It's both. It's bad and stupid the whole way through here. Yeah. Some more quick facts. 80% of HBCU funds on research and development. Sorry, I just lost my research and development grants, STEM programs, infrastructure financing. So that's important to cover right there here, because I do feel like there's like there is a non-zero amount of people who are supporting the DOE abolishment, and because of, I mean, it's not everyone. It's just the really gross people here. Because of some like white suffrage thing, they see like what is it, the thing where like minorities get the selection or whatever.
DEI, affirmative action.
Affirmative action, yeah. They see affirmative action as an attack on their whiteness for some reason, and like they're just like, no, you can't. We're post racism. You can't have anything like that, bro. What about me? And then they hate HBCUs. Let's not forget here, by the way, for context, that you brought up Betsy DeVos, that bitch. I'll say that. I don't care. She made a comment in 2018 that triggered the shit out of me, because she pretty much said this out loud here. She was like, I don't get why we're creating division with things like historically black college universities. She herself being unaware of the blatant history that those started because of they were racist, they were discriminatory, they segregated here. They didn't give us anything, so we had to start our own to help ourselves out here. Yeah. So she knew the origin. Imagine being like the Secretary of Education and not knowing that basic fact. It's just insane, nuts.
Sure,
nuts.
Because qualifications are only needed for people like us. The qualification for what people need, for people like them, is just have white skin. When Obama was running for office, the number one complaint was that he was inexperienced and underqualified. That's what they said. He was inexperienced and underqualified. A man who had been in political organization for God knows how many years, like at in Chicago, right? And then literally ran for Senate and was an actual senator for multiple years. That guy was was unqualified. And then the next runner up was Donald Trump. Like, help me here. What are we talking about for qualifications? But that qualifications don't matter, because as long as you have white skin, it's good enough. We talked about the idea that when it comes to, like, hey, we're gonna control for job applications and make you mark if you have a felon. Well, a white person with a felon has a better callback rate than a black person with no criminal history. So being black is a greater penalty than having a felony. Right? So that qualification is just white skin. Betsy DeVos knew nothing about, she knew about how the privatized education in her charter school. She knew about the business, right? Because it wasn't like she was coming up with curriculum. It wasn't, she wasn't like the one implementing programs. She wasn't doing any of those things. She was the funding for a business, right? She was a capitalist, which I don't have a problem with capitalism, but that's what she was doing. She provided the capital. But that was enough. Trump's children, just being the children of Trump's children, that was enough to get them in positions. What the freak did Ivanka have to be at that G7 summit? It didn't exist. But again,
baby, that's nepotism all day there.
Of course, but all that matters is that white
being the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, that was crazy. Now you're not wrong there. It's definitely something.
Yeah.
Let's get back on topic though, because we're bringing up these points here, and I still have more. So we can all agree here that the abolishing the DOE is a bad idea, clearly here. But let's go into the schemes that they're planning here. Like, let's just take a second here and kind of go full bad faith on Republicans, because it's like, okay, obviously there's the idea of like a proposed revolution because of the dissatisfaction currently with everyone. Everyone agrees that our education is not good right now. The paradigm is definitely lackluster. Every metric following since quarantine has plummeted off of a fucking cliff. It's worse than ever here. We did not, the entire U.S. education did not modernize to prepare for being able to deploy anything during quarantine. We didn't go into an all infrastructure. Just people, if you didn't have internet, if you were poor, broken in a non-internet situation, you were just kind of like fucked over the whole way through. And studies had shown here that generally all U.S. students lost 2 years of education retention because of just like, no stimulant and just rotting on consumerism like Fortnite and whatever else here, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go into like what I perceive here as like the bad faith arguments that there are, or the bad things they're trying to do here, right? You brought up here accelerating privatized education. I completely agree. This is a bad thing here. Most nations that are like adhering to the wealthier nations usually abolish private education because they already caught on here that the idea like you have to have the rich and wealthy class have the same access to public education, because then the wealthy will contribute happily to make sure that their offspring get a quality education. So you got to abolish it. It's kind of like having the profit motive in healthcare. It just fundamentally is at war with itself here. Privatizing education is just reinforcing intergenerational wealth, the haves and the have-nots. And then because you won the genetic lottery of being born into a rich family, you therefore have the ability and the access to get quality education. It's fundamentally not fair, right? So there's the accelerating privatized education. There's generally the whole thing about the war on education that started with Reagan here. People forget here that where we are now with the student debt crisis, that really the starting point of that actually came from Reagan, though not surprising for everyone here who's black adjacent. You already know here, but like Reagan's the devil, nothing new there. But Reagan actually started making public community colleges or public state universities. These were initially damn near free in the late 70s and early 80s. Reagan was one of the pioneers of like deliberately charging for tuition in effort to make the access to information harder, because he admitted this in some interview like back in like 81 here that like the educated are not going to vote Republican. We're not going to win them over. So we have to lower the bar of the average voter. And in the end here, 4 decades later, Republicans have certainly done that now.
Yeah.
And then the last one here I want to say is Bush's No Child Left Behind Act in 2002, which of course, as you know here, started creating these overemphasis on standardized test scores and testing metrics. And that led to, if you perform badly and you don't meet the arbitrary 2011 deadline to like meet this base, like 75% scoring across math and everything else here, you get some federal funding withheld. and because you're proving that you're a bad school, and at that point, so you combine No Child Left Behind with Republicans continually underfunding education, combined and exacerbated with the '08 recession, which definitely did affect certain things, including the prime mortgage crisis, which then trickles down to the property taxes. And it's just like, what can a failing school in a low income area really do when you're just getting fucked over in every direction possible, you know? Combined with the fact that these property taxes that are accumulated for school budgets, they're not like accumulative for the state. It's the region. So the wealthy districts, the Hamptons, the Beverly Hills, they have like infinite money, and then like the sticks area, the rural areas, the low income areas, they have nothing. They don't like collectively share the pool. It's just per region, and it's like, how's it going to work there? You know?
Well, yeah, just to be clear, the federal government is specifically responsible for providing specific, I think it's Title I funding, which is something to offset discrimination, and it's supposed to increase the amount of funding that goes to lower income areas, specifically so that they can assure a specific quality of education. But I wanted to talk on the thing that you mentioned about the Reagan and the racism, or I'm sorry, the Reagan and like his desire to make college less affordable. It wasn't just that. To my knowledge, the primary reason why he wanted to start charging tuition for colleges, it happened immediately after segregation became illegal, because once the Civil Rights Act and things were passed, and black people were now no longer allowed to be segregated in schools, so we had to have access to school. So then at that point, then they said they wanted to create tuition to keep out undesirables. Was his actual words. And so then and I love the thing, because you were saying that, hey, if we kind of make people be a mixed bag, like a pool of people, then the wealthy people will fund the education because it benefits their children. And that's absolutely true. I agree with that. But what you'll find is the opposite happens if you look at things from a racial lens. White people will what do they say? Cut off their own nose to smite their own face. Basically, when it came to like the student loan crisis that we're in, is literally born from the desire to make education expensive in order to keep out black people. And now the majority of student loan debt holders are white people, right? And you have this big bubble of student loan, this crisis that's happening specifically because they decided we want to keep out black people. So it hurt them in the long run. Same thing with like literacy tests. Literacy tests were problematic because nobody could really pass those tests. So then the uneducated white people would get punished too, but just because it would disproportionately hurt black people, they were fine with it. So education is obviously like a benefit to the country, and we know it, we see it, right? Which is why the government started funding education, and we're like creating these state colleges and stuff like that. It benefits the population, and educated populace is more productive. It's safer. It's just in every ways, it's just better. But when it came to black people in this country, they've done everything they can to get rid of that education, and I think that dismantling the Department of Education would just make that worse.
Yeah. I guess just to kind of conclude the topic here, I'll challenge you here, okay? Can you think of any good thing? Like what even, okay, because let's entertain the Trump supporter for a second here, just so to make this more entertaining, right? Because we're both agreeing on everything here. We're bringing the DOE abolishment's bad here. What is the idea, like what is the rose-tinted scenario that you think a Trump supporter is envisioning right now with the DOE abolishment? Like they're thinking, okay, we're going to abolish the DOE. It's going to be up to states. Are there going to be any federal mandates for education quality, or is it going to leave this entirely up to states and have like a per state variable going forward? Like, what's even he announced he's going to tear it down. I don't know if you saw here, Trump did say he did a little 3-minute recording of like his 10 points, which we can talk about all that here if you want to go further in, because I actually hate every single point he made there. Every single one is gross.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to understand what's the plan there, dog?
So I don't think that there's necessarily a plan. I think they have a concept of a plan. But what ends up happening is, I'm sorry, I had to do that every time. Hey. But I can't think of what their goal is, but I can tell you what motivates them. It's just really faulty logic. Follow me. People point out that since the Department of Education was created, which I believe was in 1979 by Carter, that education as far as math and science literacy has decreased from that time, into where we are now. So because those two things happened, and they just say, see, so the creation of the Department of Education is what led to the decline in math and science literacy. It's just bad brained, right?
Yeah, false positive all the way through.
Right. So people will always associate any random, correlation with causation, and so then that's their
Right.
motivation. They don't have a plan for, okay, so what happens when we get rid of this? They don't even know what the impact of it. They don't even know about the idea that it like funds like middle, that
You're
it
right.
funds
It's
teachers
like
and all
it's
that.
like it's like when Trump says, let's get rid of Obamacare, let's get rid of the ACA, and then and then after we get rid of it, then we'll figure out a Republican healthcare plan.
Right.
Which and remember that blunder happened, and they had nothing in the end. They couldn't even figure out a plan.
They didn't, and then
I'm sorry, continue.
he came up with a plan, and if you remember, his plan was going to like make 40 million people lose health care. 40 million, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's just like, this is bad because Democrats did it and Obama, and I want to erase his legacy. So this is bad. Let's get rid of it. And it's like, okay, so what's the impact? What is it actually doing? Why would you get rid of it? And this brings up a very valid point to me. And this is something I really wish people like had a better grasp on. Anytime you're thinking about making gross changes to systems and things like that, you have to understand what the system's effect is first. If you change things and you don't even know what the benefit of those things are, you can get into really scary areas, especially if those things were really, really beneficial. A perfect example of this, I'm trying to speed through this analogy. I grew up in the valley during my early years, San Fernando Valley. And there's all these dams and all these things everywhere, right? And I didn't understand why all those dams were there, because they were like pretty much dry since I was a kid. It'd be like there wouldn't be even any water at them or anything. And I was like, what is this for? And the reason was because there was these crazy floods, because we're in a valley, and there were these floods were like so much property damage because the water had nowhere to escape, and it rained really, really crazy at certain times. And as a result of that, the military got in and were like, we're going to create these really complex waterways and channels and like all these things in order to make sure that we can get rid of the water when we get into these situations, so that there's not a flood like this. People died, right? As a kid, me being there and having never been in that flood, the flood, I think it was in the 30s and 40s, having never experienced it, I'm just like, what the freak is the point of these dams? Why don't we just get rid of that and build something else in its place? And then, of course, maybe a couple years ago, we got all that crazy rain again and people were kayaking in the street. If those channels and things weren't still there, people would have died again. The flood would have been crazy again, and we would have had the same problem. You can't get rid of something that is created in a system without fully understanding what that thing does, because you put yourself at risk if that system is there to protect something. And the system, the Department of Education, was there to protect Title I, to make sure that like underserved communities and low-income people were able to get good stuff. They're there to, they literally protect Title IX to make sure that women and black people and minorities and people, whatever, that schools don't discriminate in that way, because Republicans will do that if they are given the opportunity, as they still do to this day. So these are protections to get rid of that, to make sure that like when it comes to like special needs people, hey, if my child has special needs, you can't just say, well, we don't really have the resources necessary to help them, so we're just going to put them in this class, and when they're 18, we're going to let them out of school, even though we haven't educated them. We haven't created an individualized educational plan. We haven't done any of the resources necessary to offset, some of these disabilities and deficits. But we're just, put them into school and hope that they fare well, right? You can't do that. But if you understand what it's doing, then you understand how bad this is. The problem with Republicans is they don't mind just doing the thing, right? Whatever
they don't mind taking a bulldozer and just ramming through something first, and then even having a plan later on. You're right. It's ram first, impulsive instinct first, logic and methodological approach second.
100%. It's gross.
Also, what you're bringing up here reinforces too, by the way, the whole anti-vax thing as well, because we're so far removed from the miracle of penicillin in the 1950s that people have never lived with the threat of what it was like pre-vaccines. And now, that's kind of where we are here, right? Your damn analogy was very analogous to the vaccine stuff here.
Yeah.
Though another topic for another day. But yeah, no, you're spitting here. Here's my question. Okay, you're spitting right there. Last point about this topic.
Sure.
So okay, so me and you can agree here. Yes, these people, they're advocating for abolishing a system they don't even understand. And that's really stupid, because it might lead to some unintended consequences. How do we reach them? How do you tell a pro-DOE abolisher, Trump supporter, how do you even this is where I suck, honestly. I don't know how to, I conclude they're too far in their cult mentality. And the minute that you confront their core values of that Trump, everything Trump does is good, and he's all the good things happening in this country, Like they're gonna tune out. Okay, you're not for my boy, you're not for Trump, so therefore you're an enemy of mine because you're confronting my core values. I don't want any more. They dissociate.
Sure.
How do you, if we can agree on this solution that that abolishing the DOE is bad, how do you get to them?
Yeah. So
You seem more thought about that kind of thing than I am. I'm just like they're too stupid. I'm really on the like they're just too far gone. We have to work around them and just and build recruitment of people who are open to hearing that this is like stupid to do.
right. The secret is manipulation.
Oh,
no, legitimately.
You agree with hang on. Okay, well go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
Manipulation. All right. Okay.
So-
now you're talking my language.
I'm
All
telling
right.
you, a lot of time in debate, what I do is I manipulate people. I talk from the lens that they already hold dear, that they hold special.
Yes.
And then at that point, I tie or associate the thing that I want to the thing that they hold special, such that they've already agreed. So then the solution flows downstream logically from whatever it is that they're talking about. So in this kind of a situation, my approach would probably be like, you know, man, I really, really hate all of these stupid, studies and things where people go to college and get into crazy debt because they're studying things like, I don't know, just African American studies or gender studies or so on and so forth that really doesn't actually contribute to our GDP and it's not really beneficial. I would say those kinds of things, right? So then they're just like,
Right.
yeah, these blue-haired liberals and this school becoming Marxists, et cetera, they're crazy. Hey, and it's like, right, and what are you going to do with a degree in gender studies? What do you actually do besides promote?
Oh, your microphone cut out again. No, you're still muted. Oh,
Got it.
hey, you fixed it.
There we
All
go.
right, cool.
So then you
Good
go,
deal.
what you really need to do is you got to really, what we really should be focusing on the most, what really affects us all is STEM. And of course, every Republican's going to agree, right?
Mhm.
Like, forget critical race theory and gender studies and all this DEI stuff. STEM is what matters the most. And it's like, yeah. So if we have any department in the government, then that department should be something to make sure that STEM is available in these schools. That's what we need. So we need a government that will sit there and make STEM be really promoted. And they're like, yeah, of course. And he's like, you know what? Actually, the Department of Education is the thing that does that. So
Dang.
and then now at
Got
this
'em.
point, you've already, like, they've agreed with everything you've said. And now for the first time, they're like, oh, I didn't, because they didn't know that, right? They didn't know
Right,
that was a thing. So now they're just like, holy smokes, that's what they do? Then yeah, I want that. Now they'll start maybe trying to find other ways. Well, I still think it's bad. They don't have a real reason for why they think it's bad, but just this is what I've been told to believe is bad, so I want to get rid of it. But
Right. Oh, I lost you again.
there we go. Now we're at time. Let me dismiss. Now there's this thought at the back of their mind that's picking away at them that says, "Hey, we got to do this thing," and that's how you do it.
Gotcha. No, no, you're spitting there. That's what I do. I'm just really impatient there because like it takes. I did this once. I'm sorry. I know this topic is going long here, but you're I thought this was a really really good point here. So I tried to de-radicalize a Trump voter IRL. Like it was an IRL normie friend, right? Not anyone I know online. So it's if I'm talking online, I don't pad shit, right? I just call you an idiot and move on because
Same.
you're confidently being stupid, right?
Yep.
But offline, Michael, not trihex. Okay, yeah, I tried. It took like 3 hours of just like of like us sharing anecdotes just to kind of like make these bridges start to spawn, and then when he would throw me like a clear path to connect the bridges over a shared experience, something that his values are clearly progressive or like liberal, and it had to be like something that happened before the Trump indoctrination. So it took me like a long time to that bridge connect finally, and he's like, actually, you know what, you're right. Okay, I see where you're coming from now. You're right. I don't like Joe. I don't like Sleepy Joe in the Hoe, but I see what you're talking about here with the whole economic populace, and I'm whatever I said at the time. I didn't use these big words. I made it more like pro worker general rhetoric here.
Yep.
It just takes so long, and it's like, bro, I don't have 3 hours per one idiot to fucking de-radicalize and make them aware that what they want, what they need, and what they want are two different things right now. Like they think they want Trump, but what they actually want is economic populism and all the Bernie rhetoric and pro worker shit and having paid time off by law, paid maternity leave off by law, paid sick time off by law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that Republicans 100% are not doing this thing here. Like it shocked me because I don't know if you know this in Louisiana. I'm sorry, I'm going a bit long here, but in Louisiana, just to give like a really grounded example, Currently, Pornhub is banned. There's currently 8 states right now. It's like Louisiana, Arkansas, and Nebraska, etc., where like um pornographic material. This was back in 2022 when all the gays are grooming narrative was going on here. In effort to attack gay porn because it's corrupting the youth, they just kind of like blocked porn as a whole. You have to use this like private state operated database where you input your license number and your ID number, and then you get access to Pornhub, or you have to use a VPN to get around the Louisiana VPN. I kid you not. And this is like, and the thing is, they don't even know it's a Republican thing. They're like, the normies don't even know what to attribute that to. They just put up with it. And I'm like, this is anti-freedom, and you have to recognize who causes here. This is not a democratic thing at all. This is very much a conservative, religious fundamentalist type of thing right here. This is a crusade against gay people, and that's why they're doing that.
Dang, see,
So
I don't agree with their reasons for doing it, but I do think that the society would be better if we didn't have so much access to porn. I think porn is really, really damaging. Then again, that's my religious fundamental self. I think porn is particularly bad for society. So, but again, I believe in allowing people to have freedom. So I would never make the rule that, hey, we're gonna ban it. Whatever.
I would love to listen. I have a lot of thoughts about my thoughts on pornography and modern society as a role is very similar to social media. So I think. Don't think I'm pro porn if this came off that way. I actually would love to make this put a tack in it and pin it for a future episode, because I have a lot of thoughts on porn and its role in society right now. As well as social media.
Somebody please pin that so that we can make sure that we can have this conversation at a future date. Hopefully,
for sure.
Remember.
Yeah.
Really quick, I want to touch on something that you said earlier. The thing about like you don't have time, you don't have 3 hours per person to have this kind of conversation and like convert people. And I agree, you don't, because it would take way, way, way too much time, and time is way too valuable. But what you do have is you have the ability to have that kind of a conversation with someone and to convert someone, and then you have the ability to post that conversation on TikTok, and YouTube, and Twitter, and Facebook, and then you get to go ahead and educate so many people in that one conversation. Because so many people, all of the viewers are going to encounter that. And conservatives are going to encounter that and go, this nigga kind of spitting. They might not say it in your comments, but it's going to start that thing. And I think that's how we change the world. That's how we change the zeitgeist. Like, my agenda has always been one conversation at a time. When I'm in a debate, I want to change the world one conversation at a time. And so when I'm having that conversation, it's not because, you're so important to me that I need you to think differently. It's because this conversation posted somewhere, if it gets 500 views, that's 500 people, or, assuming that maybe even 10% of those people are people that disagreed, that's 50 people who have now heard competent ideology or competent argumentation against their ideology that might modify them. And that's what I aim for.
Okay. All right. I hear you.
And you're a competent debater, bro. You are. You're an intelligent thinker, so you should be doing this.
It'd be one thing if they weren't. Dude, there's so many TFGs, dog. They're too far gone. They're so in that cult. You have to tiptoe around. It takes like hours to finally. You can't attack. Like, the whole thing is, it's a falsehood reinforced that like Trump is good, and it just takes so long. You have to you are literally trotting through filler to finally have just a duration be long enough that the shield comes down a little bit, or that you've poked at it and you're literally chipping away at it until finally, okay, now can we get to Trump finally? Okay, I'm dancing around the topic here. So I can finally get to Trump. I gotta get to your boy. I gotta get to the cult leader here, the cult hive mind, the fact that you're in this like reality distortion field that's reinforcing here that all the positive change in the world is attributed to Trump, and it's just not the case here.
100%.
So it's just a little bit. It's a bit nerve ending.
It is,
and it's very non-linear too. It's like every person, it varies on what is driving their main value.
1,000,000,000%.
So
I want to point out, by the way, this is the third topic. The third topic is where do we go from here, and this is kind of what we were talking about last time, if you remember, when I was saying about the idea that I believe that the way that we move forward, the way that we actually heal the country, is. We start having these kinds of conversations, because I do believe that people still can be one. I mean, I also think that prayer should be back in schools, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So I just feel like the way we would.
Lord have mercy. Okay, that's it.
But
You're gonna drop these old hot ass.
I do. I be doing it. I just like throwing them. It's like a cheap shot almost. But yeah, like
I didn't say about that.
No, we ain't getting into that. But I do think these conversations are huge, man. They're really huge, and I think, the way, the way that I got bodied by Steven Crowder, right? I didn't hear a lot of his arguments. I mean, I didn't hear like arguments to the other side. I saw Steven Crowder debating, people in those college campuses who are uneducated children. And then I was like, oh man, this guy's such a competent debater. And I started believing in him and Ben Shapiro, before I got more educated and, just started getting involved in politics. It was like this like armchair kind of armchair political debate that was just like, oh, okay, I can kind of see what these people's coming from, and these dudes are really, really smart, and that's what's happened for so many people. Like Ben Shapiro is literally winning young minds, just as Jordan Peterson did, just as Steven Crowder did, because they've seen these debates with some of these lunatics, people on the left who can't debate, who don't know how to argue, and so then it actually reinforces their conservative mentality, and so that it's effective.
I disagree with all that there.
Really?
I don't know. When am I allowed to like?
Now.
Are you still making your opening statement or like?
No, that's it. We've been
Okay,
in
so
this.
so you're bringing up Ben Shapiro and you're bringing up Jordan Peterson. Both these people here are they're both now members of Daily Wire. Daily Wire is like 100% being like funded by like Koch brothers and PragerU adjacent like oligarch billionaire funded money. The entirety of the right wing apparatus of social media presence is billionaire fed. Let's not pretend here that like that Tim Pool, Charlie Kirk, Steve Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who else am I forgetting here? Dave Rubin, like Steven, what's his face? The other Steven. They're all gross. They're all jerks, and they're all fed to like the propaganda we have seen. Or Tucker Carlson literally just like giving a tour of like a Russian grocery store. It's 100% Russian propaganda. The fact that Ben Shapiro's advocated, or I'm sorry, Matt Walsh. The fact that Ben Shapiro has like gone for like some pretty patently like pro-war stances. Matt Walsh has gone for calling like if you take a sick day, then you're no better than a child. That's childish to do a sick day. Just blatantly anti-worker rhetoric here.
They didn't start
all this
there,
is
though. Because what I'm talking about is like back in the day, before Ben Shapiro was the guy that he is now, before Steven Crowder was
when he was picking on like college campus nobodies.
Yeah, that's specifically what I was talking about.
I mean that's being over prepared. Yeah, I mean why was he going after college campus literal who's and not going into like the equivalent qualified debating people?
Because his arguments don't actually hold up, and he knows better.
Right. Yeah, it was tactical. I wouldn't say that was like I wouldn't say that was like in good faith. I suppose here it was all about the optics.
I wasn't arguing that it was in good faith either. I think it's really, really heinous what they're doing. They're capturing the minds of the youth by arguing with underprepared, unintelligent young children. And I, being an unprepared, unintelligent person, or maybe I can't say unintelligent, but definitely uninformed, I bought into their arguments for quite some time when I was younger. And I know younger people now who still buy into their arguments. That Changed My Mind series was disgusting. And what it did was, that's how you start shaping the zeitgeist. I believe without those type of content where you have these Republicans who are getting bought, where you have these young kids who are getting bought into Republican and conservative ideology because they're seeing these arguments on these college campuses with these underprepared children who don't know how to debate against some of this right-wing grift, those people, then it looks and it appears as if these people are the most intelligent, they have the best argument, that what they're saying is sound, right? And they're arguing in this very populist, like very simple-minded way, such that young people can consume it, and it worked. And now you have those same people who are of an older age where they're actually starting to get be considered they're now at the age where they're more likely to vote, and those people are voting, and they're voting Republican because they got bought in by that nonsense, because both of them are dishonest as freak. These arguments are important.
Okay, yeah, no, I can agree with that. Now we should probably take a second here and like so where do we go from here? Or do you want me to share like, because I don't think I really want to detail what I want us to do going forward, or do you want me to like kind of recap what I disagreed with your proposal last time?
Either one, whichever one you would prefer. I'm open to either. I can respond if you want to go with yours, or you can tell me what you disagree with.
I'll do mine, and you can just stop whenever you want or cut me off here. So first, for me to get into like what I want to do and what I think is the best path forward to like to fix things here, I kind of need to first establish here where we are, and then also establish like my own take on like why this happened. Why did Trump win again despite running a objectively terrible campaign that was full of just like patently unappealing things, and how did it persist because there's no way it's just the MAGA cult. There's not like 75 million MAGA members. It was very clearly like the MAGA base itself is like somewhere around like maybe 15, 20 million people who are the most devoted in the cult who will like go to the rally and whatnot. But there's a wider blast of people who just like, they're seeing the shockwave effect where they saw maybe clips from the the Joe Rogan podcast episode with Trump on there, or like maybe it was Trump when he was on the Nelk Boys podcast or the Aiden Ross stream, or Trump's done a lot of rounds in the new media realm that like Democrats are just completely stagnant on, right? So in the end here, Trump won. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. And it's puzzling to understand here how Latinos swayed 30 percentage points. It's puzzling how Gen Z, 18 to 30-year-olds, swayed 15 or more percentage points. And it's also swayed how there was also a lower turnout overall in 2024 than in 2020. And so with that, here's what I got from that, okay? America is a painfully low information, non-substance, vibes-based, fickle attention span country. In the end here, when you ask a Trump supporter, like they say the economy guy, you ask for substance, they have nothing to provide her the whole way through. So in the end here, now that we're in the social media era, and now that we're in like the saturation of the manosphere, if we're gonna call it that, right? The self-help thing, the incel adjacent content and all that here. There's so many of those, the Andrew Tates, all that, right? All of this contributes to, like you're alluding here, like just the normalization of like right-wing rhetoric and politics and ideology. And in the end here, they're speaking to them. They're telling them, that in the end here, your failure is like in the context of like American individualism, your failure is a moral failure. And you need to get someone who's going to make you strong. And Trump's messaging and narrative like really speak to them in that regard here. And so with that, because they're low information, they don't have substance, and they're really into vibes. In the end here, you have to meet them where they are. And I feel like Democrats were just completely not doing that here. Kamala declining the Joe Rogan podcast. How much social media influence is there with like Democratic rhetoric, and what was really the Democrat narrative the whole way through here? I feel like there wasn't really that, and also because of the fact that they kind of run away from their base. Like very clearly, an economic populist, like Bernie adjacent type of thing, is what would get like all the normies to come through, because they're definitely into minimum wage increase. They're definitely into paid time off provided by law, not being to the whim of the corporation you currently work for and whatnot. But the thing here too, though, is that what Trump has that every other politician doesn't is that he's inherently entertaining. He is chaotic. He is controversial. But the thing is, like, how people are going to tune into a Joe Biden State of the Union address? How many would comparably tune into a completely off the cuff, chaotic, crazy, unpolitician-like union address from Trump? And I'm not saying that him entertaining is like endorsing his like awful views out here, but like the point is that like if you believe what I'm saying is correct and that people are really into vibes, and people do demand entertainment because of the more social media saturation, fickle attention spans of TikTok and whatnot, then it's going to require a different kind of candidate going forward here. We have to really reevaluate the era of the polished politician, I would say. So that's kind of the thing I keep getting at here, is that like
I don't think
we're not going to win. We're not going to win them over with like deep dive information on like better policy, I suppose.
Possibly. I do think though, like I feel like the Democrats give Republicans really, really easy wins. Like, I'm going to be 100% real. I don't think that trans issues are like at the forefront of everything, but I think when you do have certain examples of like, some like there's
Hang on, you muted again. Yeah.
Test. There we go. So there was a WeSpa incident in California where there was like a trans person. I don't believe that this person was actually trans. It was a guy who was a exhibitionist. He had been sued as an exhibitionist and had like criminal history as an exhibitionist. Full beard, full everything. Wasn't really trans, but he went into the WeSpa and with full genitalia, male genitalia, where there were children and women, and he just went into the locker room and disrobed and was just walking around there like that as an exhibitionist. And so then when we have those kind of incidents, and instead of us being able to have a conversation like, hey, this is something that maybe, like, I think that there is a good investment in ensuring that Young children don't see the genitalia of the opposite gender in safe spaces like that. We can't have that kind of conversation because then that conversation is being labeled as transphobic. And so when people were protesting at the Wii Spot, and then you have, Antifa and people that go up there and they start literally like beating up people, taking their signs and all that stuff, it was a really big deal. That gives a win. Because what ends up happening is now you have Republicans, like at a very basic level, just normal, low educated, common sense. It's just like, that seems like that would be somewhat injurious and it just goes against what I believe in. And some people are unwilling to condemn that kind of behavior. Another example of that would be when you have, Anti-Racism by Ibram X. Kendi. I despise that man. I despise that man. I think anti-racism is retarded. I love the idea of critical race theory because critical race theory is founded in reality and it makes sense. But anti-racism and critical race theories are two different things. And when critical race theory was first being talked about, Ibram X. Kendi and his trash anti-racism enters the conversation, and now you have these Republicans who are intentionally referring to anti-racism as critical race theory in order to make it like ugly and to make it like unattractive so that white people are justifiably upset because anti-racism is trash. So that dude did a lot of injury. You like anti-racism?
Well, we have to kind of go into like so there's like being not racist, and then you're referring to like anti-racism as in like, and would you define it as like actions that are proactive to deter racism? Like I'm perceiving what you're saying. I'm trying to understand what you're getting at here. When we say anti-racism, we're talking about like when people do things that are meant to prevent racism from happening. We're not like reacting to racism happen and then we're gonna correct that. We're talking about like preemptively preventing racism. Is that what you're saying?
Anti-racism is just a complete ideology that basically has the idea that everyone needs to be, as you're saying, yes, aggressively anti-racist. You cannot be passively against racism. If you're not aggressively anti-racist, then you are racist. If you're just a white person existing in the middle of Alabama that just has your own family that works in the freaking coal mine, or in Kentucky that works in the freaking coal mine and lives in your trailer and goes to your regular school and comes back home and just lives in that little enclave where there's like no black people, you are racist because you are not doing something specifically to combat racism in the view of anti-racism. And so what that ends up doing is demonizing people who aren't perpetuating racism or doing anything that's actually racist. It's just because you didn't fight against racism, you are inherently racist. And so it starts demonizing white people, and like their children are encountering, like there were pamphlets and things like that, and workshops and worksheets of what they were teaching the young children, that like simply being white immediately means that you're born into racism and nonsense. And so that kind of ugliness, I know it sounds ugly and it sounds completely ridiculous, but that's what anti-racism genuinely believes. That's why it's so very different than critical race theory.
Okay, I have to like look a lot further than that one. Generally, I hear anti-racism stemming from like a very famous quote from Martin Luther King Jr. talking about how like, in reality, racism stems from the inaction of the moderate white man who is passive, and therefore being passive towards things like police brutality and criminal injustice is therefore perpetuating the normalcy of the execution of our people. And so like it's not enough to be like not racist, you have to be anti-racist. That's kind of where I recall that quote coming from. And so that like but maybe we're talking about two different things here.
We are. Anti-racism was coined by Ibram X. Kendi. He coined it. Way after Martin Luther King. He coined that phrase. And that ideology stems from him. The same way how we have a starting point for critical race theory, we could say these are the lawyers and the people who coined critical race theory and therefore define what it means. In the same sense, we have to recognize who coined anti-racism, who wrote their PhD on it, Ibram X. Kendi, and what comes from that. And so it is very, very distinct from critical race theory. Very, very distinct.
Okay.
And I think you give white people a win when you start promoting that. Because if I'm in a classroom where like if my child is 7 years old and where they're teaching him that collectively all white people are responsible for the ongoing, slavery, et cetera, and telling them that simply by being white they are racist until they are educated to be anti-racist, I got a problem with that. I would have a problem with that.
Let me back up a little bit. Okay. Would you consider explaining white privilege a component of anti-racism? Like, is
No.
that so that's a different thing? Like, so.
Of course.
Okay, all right. Then yeah, I think we're just coming at an impasse here. Then I'd have to look further into specifically that implementation, and I might have like mistakenly perceived anti-racism as something different. But yeah, the overstate where you just like effectively perpetuate white guilt, it doesn't really build allies for sure.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's
we
a
should do that.
problematic.
Let's make one of the topics next week about anti-racism. That gives you plenty of time to like to research, and you'll see it's destructive. And when that's the thing that people are encountering, that conservatives are encountering, it's like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? This can't be normal, right? The whole "what is a woman" thing, where it's like when what's her face, Ketanji Brown can't say what a woman is, but she just can't say that phrase. Conservatives then look at that. Low level, low whatever, low educated conservatives just look at that and be like, see, this is so absurd. We're giving them wins. We're giving them wins because now Republicans run on that, right? Or the immigration problem that like the vast majority of Americans recognize the scope, like the sheer number of immigrants that entered into the country during this time was a little bit overwhelming. It would not a little bit. It was overwhelming. It was problematic. And so
It was? Oh, your mic went out again. Oh, I lost you. I have to get that cable changed.
check. I promise you I will have it changed by next week. But yes, I would say that the immigration problem was absolutely overwhelming. And I think people being able to run on that. Trump knew that it would be overwhelming. He knew it was overwhelming, which is why he killed that bill that the Democrats were actually trying to pass with Republicans, and they were getting bipartisan support on a bill to actually fix some of the immigration issue, but he intentionally called and made a sabotage. This is known. I don't know if you're aware of this. He called in to sabotage the bill that was going to go forward because he knew that it was be an issue that he could run on.
Correct. Yeah, I do recall this, yeah.
So it's like, I'm no Republican because Trump maintained the problem so that he could run on it because he'd rather run on fixing a problem than actually fixing the problem. And he knew that if he didn't have that, then he loses the ability to actually run. But that problem did happen under Biden-Harris. It did. Mm-hmm. So it's like you give wins. I think sometimes we give Republicans wins by doing really bad things, and then as a result of that, now these people aren't going to be engaged on the economy. They're not going to see
where did we get here? I forgot how we got to anti-racism. So I feel like where do we go from here? Is this like you proposing that one of your solutions is like we need to like abolish we need to like not do the anti-racism practices anymore? Is that like one of your
for sure? I would say all of these various things. I would say that
what's like your more what's like your more direct solution here? Because that's kind of more what because I haven't really finished what I was gonna get into here. I'm curious of like what your we're in Trump term 2. It's gonna get bad. He's gonna like flip the federal government and all the regulations, regulatory bodies upside down here. It's gonna be a definitive shit show by 2026. What's our plan? Like, is there like what's our I have a plan. I can tell you like what my plan is. And you can tell me if you agree with it or not, or you can tell me what your plan is.
As I've always said,
or what you would advocate for.
It's to educate the population. It's to make people actually understand what's actually at stake when Republicans get into office, to point and to inform people about the importance of the systems that the Republicans constantly kind of want to dismantle. When you start talking about environmental regulations, you don't even have to get into global warming to just see how some of these regulations prevent like literally direct like dumping water into freaking people's drinking water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I disagree here. I disagree, dude. Maybe because I'm in Louisiana here, bro. These people are radicalized beyond repair, and they do not do any self introspection to be able to compute facts or substance.
Watch my Groyper video. I keep saying it. You'll see.
I don't see it, bro. I don't do.
You haven't done it. I have. I do. I debate people. I debate staunch Republicans and convert them. It's doable. You just have to learn how to manipulate them. If I can convince Jesse Lee Peterson that reparations is necessary, Jesse Lee Peterson, if I can convince him of that, I'm doing something there.
Okay, all right.
He's not. It's not. And again, he's psychopath, and he's obviously a grifter. He doesn't really believe in half of the stuff he's saying.
Yeah,
I
he's
believe
also
that.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
But
It's like a closet. Isn't he closeted too? Like isn't that like a whole other thing here as well? Like
that's
he's
an
like vehemently
accusation.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know.
Not
But
even, not even important. Not even the top 5
Yeah.
worst things he's even said anyway. So he even cares. Like
education, yes. Just to answer one person really quick in the chat, education is absolutely a manipulation. It is. Like, I think an educated population makes better decisions. If I don't know what the Department of Education does, I don't see what's wrong with dismantling it. I could just see 1979 Department of Education got created and things got worse. Seems like, hey, easy correlation to me. But then I got to figure out, what does it actually do? What's the point of it? When people are against like things like reparations and stuff, it's because they don't know of the harm and stuff that people have gone through. Education changes everything. I love that there was a Twitter space I was on recently, and I'm debating with these people, and she's like, yeah, well, and I explained to her what redlining actually was. And I'm like, yeah, during this time, not a single insured loan went to a single black person over this period of time. And she immediately she's like, wait, so-and-so, is that true? To the other host, is that true? What he's saying true? And I'm like, it's absolutely true. Google it yourself. Now she's starting to see it. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. Then yeah, maybe we could do something. When less than 8% of high school seniors can identify slavery as the root cause of the Civil War, that's where the ignorance is coming from. It's not from it's from lack of education and lack of information. You said there's what?
Oh, that's deliberate. That is.
Oh yes.
That's the school board. That's social studies right there.
Daughters of the Confederacy. All of it.
Yeah. It was over states' rights.
100%. But when you educate, when you have a conversation with someone, you demonstrating, you show them this is what this thing was about, and here's the proof, and so on and so forth. There's no argument anymore. Now, some people will argue in bad faith because it's their job to. I don't even want to say his name. Some psychopath debaters where they're just not going to concede no matter what, because it's their job and they can't ever let their following ever see them lose. But real people are going to have that conversation, and then they're going to be like, all right, I can agree.
Well, so let me take a second here then and bring into more substance of our reality, right? Okay. So here's the reality. Harris lost the campaign, raised $1 billion. The spending, the distribution, the logistics were all bad. Running around parading with Liz Cheney, who's a notoriously unpopular Republican. And a very definitive issue like the ceasefire in Gaza, just completely kind of like not differentiating enough from Biden or endorsing the whole thing there, did lead to a lot of swing voters who ultimately just didn't turn out. I think the Gaza thing definitely didn't make people go Trump in this case. Just kind of made them either go third party on the Green Party or just like sit out in the end in action. It is like, I totally get that. Though I do vote in harm reduction, so I swallowed my pride or I swallowed my spit and voted Harris anyway, because I knew that definitively, in theory, she could be swayed, but Trump would not be swayed, right? So I just kind of went with the lesser of two evils in this case there, even though I was not happy with that either, quite honestly. But there's a couple things here I wanted to bring to your attention that right now, there's already talk here of Rahm Emanuel becoming the DNC chair, which is definitively not a good thing here. This is what I want to see for the Democrats at this point here. I want to see a change in leadership. I'm so tired of Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker, etc., Senate Chair leader, and all that here. It's just not. You need to see definitively new leadership for me to take it seriously anymore. In the end here, I don't think Trump even ran a good campaign to win. I'd argue that Harris campaign ran a much worse campaign and they lost. Trump didn't win, just that Harris lost more.
Worst campaign is hard for me because Trump didn't have a good campaign. He didn't have one. He didn't have any substance. There was nothing to his campaign. It's just that Kamala was so bad that people couldn't root for her, and she didn't actually have the substance. But Trump didn't.
It's worse. Trump had popular vote. Trump electoral college. Definitively, it was more appealing because the message of revolution resonated with more low information voters all the way through here. In the end, the choice to be very, very active on the social media circles did reach people, quote, where they were. Campaign ads, not where they are. Rallies, not where they are. In the end, the social media sphere, that's the blast zone here. It was I hate to say it, I'm not saying it was an ethical campaign, but it was ran better, and hers was definitely worse. How do you raise $1 billion and still lose? And it takes weeks to figure out who even agrees on what the cause was there. It was a bad ran campaign.
Okay. I think you're correct.
Having Bill
correct.
Clinton go to Michigan and just tell all the Arabs to go fuck off, having Liz Cheney dance around and continue to and promising on the View that I'm gonna appoint a Republican to cabinet because of the facade of bipartisanship because you're just like a fucking Sleepy Joe here,
Yeah.
bro. It was a bad campaign.
Okay.
Ain't nobody.
You're right.
I'm voting Democrats. I'm not. I don't. This facade of bipartisanship is a boomer thing that Joe is still stuck in 1980s on here, bro. These people are deceptive and they will happily exploit the Senate filibuster and every other rule they fucking can to power grab and continue to fuck over everyone else here all the way through, while the decorum obsessed Democrats here continue to just bend over and get fucked every fucking day.
That's the
Sorry to
same.
stay here.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing that Bill Clinton ran on, which is why we got that crime bill. Remember, he wanted to prove that Democrats weren't soft on crime.
Yeah. It's running to the right. It's shrinking the Overton window further and further here.
Well,
So as long as I see leadership like this here, I just cannot take Democrats seriously. I'm gonna be totally real about that. At this current time here now, what I want to see, just gonna bring in more substance to what my solutions would here be here. The working parties, working families party, which is like Democrat Socialists advocating here, and the Democrat Socialists of America. These are the two most active factions I see right now here that are both where I'm seeing the most radicalized, eager to mobilize right now. The DNC is not showing me anything serious here. I'm still waiting on to see what Bernie wants to do, if anything here. But I'm currently keeping tabs on these two and seeing what they're cooking up, if they can kind of get like a coalition going. If at best here to put pressure on the Democrats. Because if I can here real quick, what's powerful now here is the reason why I have hope, even though we're in the worst case scenario, right? We have a Trump cabinet combined with a Republican majority House and Senate and a corrupt conservative majority Supreme Court, right? They have everything. We are definitively right now at the worst case scenario, and it's going to be terrible for the next 2 years or more, right? Okay, not to doom scroll here, it's kind of reinforcing here. So what that means now is there's nothing to lose by exercising a protest vote against the Democrats. We have nothing to lose now. So I'd say now is the time to 100% definitively apply pressure and
no, there's everything.
and go all in here. Huh?
There's everything to lose. If they keep this for 4 years, the damage is going to be I think 2 years is already too much. I'm so scared. But either way, that's something.
Yeah, where I'm not saying. I don't understand here. Like so if the Democrats have already ran a terrible campaign and they're letting people fail upward, the same leadership's going to remain at the DNC, and they're still going to do the whole thing where they appease moderates, appease Republicans. When you're trying to appease Republican voters, when in reality here, like Republicans are going to always appeal more to Republican voters than like Republican light Democrats here.
Right.
Like the policies they're doing right now here with not embracing economic populism, what they're doing right now here with still being adhering to their elite donors, which are going to prioritize incrementalism and not real substantive change for a majority populace. It's not going to win elections, dog. So like to me, So when I say nothing to lose here, I mean like we're already there. We're already at worst case scenario. Like all that can happen now is you do a protest vote to attempt to sway new leadership or demands at the behest of the pressure of a protest vote to get the Democratic Party to under control. I don't think they like losing, and we have not tried a genuine unified front on the left. You have some that are like, kind of, maybe Elizabeth Warren, maybe Bernie, maybe a Gavin Newsom can run here. There's not like an unapologetic unified front on our demands. There's like a fickle thing where some people cave early on here, but in the end, there's going to be resistance to economic populism or whatever you want to call it, just good policy all around that's broadly appealing, like a minimum wage increase or again, whatever subsidized community colleges, whatever thing you want to use here, right? All those things are very popular regardless of party affiliation, regardless of partisan filters here. Like Republicans fuck heavy with the minimum wage increase, and they are definitely into radical things like I even argue here, even like UBI, universal basic income. Like they're into those things whenever it's read out to them separate from the Democrat policy lens and whatnot. So I say here, keep tabs on working family parties, keep tabs on the DSA here, and then finally, like I brought before here, remember last time I said here about the United Auto Workers Union? Well, they made it official now. They officially said it here. May 1st, 2028 is when the United Auto Workers Union will go on strike again, and they're looking for other unions that are going to coincide with their contracts expiring here to build a bigger front. And like I said before, they're looking for those truck driver unions, and they're looking for, hopefully the teachers will get involved too, and it can maybe become a bigger thing with a general strike. So you combine pressure, and unions striking here, facilitating into possibly a general strike of all the wages that are currently getting fucked over right now, that would be a lot of pressure to then say, okay, hey, Democrats, you want our vote? Here's our demands. We want these 10 things. On God, for real.
I like that. I wish black people would be just as unified. We're way past time though,
I think we are. I think we are actually. Wait. Okay, so okay. Now that I said that part here, you think that black people are not for this?
No, I don't think we're unified. I don't think we have a collective ideology of what we should be doing. Because I believe that protest vote should have been against the Democrat Party for a long time. Benign neglect is still practiced by the Democrat Party, and we're still voting for them overwhelmingly. It's still a problem.
I agree there. I think in this next time, tack it here, but accelerationist theory. I think that things had to get this bad for unification to happen across the fractured online spaces. That's been like a leftist problem for a while now.
Sure, you're talking about leftist online spaces. I'm talking about black people.
You know what? I'd love to go into why you think that is, but let's do that one next time then.
Okay.
So I guess the question there would be what's the question? Why are black people not unified?
Not why. What do we need to do to unify? Or do we even agree that we're not unified or whatever? I think black.
The stats tell me they're unified with voting Democrat currently. They have been for decades now. They are black women and black men are by far the most loyal, attentive, and consistent demographic of voting Democrat.
And that's exactly why I would say
now.
that, and I think that's to our detriment.
Well, it is unified to something here, and therefore I think that can be unified towards another purpose if the messaging recruits them in early enough here. If enough of them are currently now under a second Trump term radicalized enough to see here that like we got to really come in here hardcore, I think that can happen actually. I'm a bit more hopeful here actually. I think that black people are uniquely powerful in this case because the mobilization can be really, really good, really, really quickly.
Okay.
I saw really promising numbers and stats here whenever Bernie's campaigns, both in 16 and 19, happened, and black people were no stranger to that. I would say. Okay. So we'll tack it though. We'll tack it.
I hear you. Listen, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We might have to edit some of the outro out of the previous of this last topic because we went probably 45, maybe 50 minutes. If I didn't start my timer. You guys know where to find us: twitch.tv/trihex, twitch.tv/Mr. Fanatic. And look forward to the next episode, which will be on Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard, 7 Central, 8 Eastern.
All right. Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in, y'all. We'll try to do better on the timer next time. Appreciate y'all.
For sure.
Peace.
Okay.
All right.
Bro, this is another banger episode, I think. I very much enjoy talking to you. It's still good.
Yeah. On my end here, I would say I tried to engage more and not just like fart out my notes. So I feel like this is like a much better episode 1 than the last one for sure.
For sure. The last one was episode 0. This is episode 1.
Yeah, as we all agreed to, right? Yeah, episode 0.
Yeah.
Okay, did we actually write down here though? What do we okay, just so I don't forget here. What did we touch on here that we want to hop on? What did we put a pin on here?
Porn.
So the pin was okay, so role of porn, and I guess for me, it'd be porn and social media. I think they're both in the same category here. In society, role of porn in society.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna put a little sub note here because you said that
porn is bad for society. Period.
Okay, you think porn's a net negative? Okay, all right.
Yeah, hyper harmful.
Fanatic. Porn is a net negative for society. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What were the other tacks?
Anti-racism.
Okay. Anti-racism. Okay, I have to look into that. What's the name again? The gentleman you're referring to?
Ibram X. Is it Candy? IBRAM space X space KANDI. It's either Candy or Kendi. KENDI, but it's one of the two.
Okay, I'll do my homework on that. And then let's see here. We had attack on black people are not united. Right?
Yeah,
are not unified. Are not unified. / unified for Democrats.
Yeah.
So, parentheses, the wrong cause.
Sure.
And then you said
listen,
something along the lines of
you know how much I hate Candace. Yeah, how much I hate Candace Owens, but I think her stupid line of black people in the Democrat plantation, I like it. I like it.
Okay. All right. Protest vote. Should have been sooner. That's what got me. Should have protest vote against Democrats. Should have happened sooner. That's kind of what I heard from you earlier. Any other? I thought there was at least one thumbtack during the Department of Education point, but I kind of don't remember now where that was going.
Oh,
here.
the black jobs thing, bro.
Oh, bro. Yeah. Okay, bro. All right.
We might need a bonus side conversation about the black jobs,
Bro.
man.
No, arguing is fun actually. I like the because every time I think it's gonna be too boring. We're gonna agree on everything, and then you move some freaking crazy ass curveball, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
All right, bro. Okay,
Bro.
bro.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
Yeah, cause I be spitting. The black job
Bro.
thing was terrible. It was awful.
I remember now too. Prayer. You said prayer needs to come in school.
Oh
prayer.
yeah, that's a meme. That's
That
a
was-
meme. That's a meme. I mean,
Prayer.
I do think society would be more beneficial the more prayer there was. I think morals. People need morals,
Okay,
and I think a
okay.
lot of people get their morals from. But I don't
Okay,
genuinely advocate for it to be.
I know
in
this is
school like
off
that.
convo, but I'm not anti-prayer in school. More so is the hypocrisy that those who advocate for it are very clearly like they want Christian prayer. They don't want they don't respect all religions. They want very much Christian prayer and not any other religion understood in school.
Yeah, for the
Would
most
you agree
part.
with that, or
Yeah. Look,
that's bro. You got it.
100%.
You are in California way too much, bro. That is like the Christian nationalism thing is like insane out here, dog. It is very much like they are intolerant to any other religion the whole way through, and it's seen as like a us versus them thing. So,
that's true.
I would take this argument more seriously if there was that like blatant hypocrisy not all the way through there. But like, it's not the most urgent note, but prayer needed in school. Okay,
Yeah, that one's hard because it's like, again, I because of just my view of like liberalism in the sense that I don't like projecting my beliefs on other people. I can't really advocate for other people to get prayer in school. Like I know that it would the problems that you run into there and in the encroachment, and I'm very, very anti-encroachment, and I feel like if you start having prayer come from authority figures, it does create some type of encroachment on other people's values. And I think it's really like it's one of that's why I said it's a meme, because it's like in reality, do I think society would be better off with prayer in schools? Yes. Do I think as a whole it's something I could like literally advocate for politically? No, I don't.
Yeah, it's the classic here. I had a point here about that, I just forgot it already here. But yeah, it's like it's like, I'm not anti-gun, I'm anti-gun violence. So in the same way I'm not anti-religion, I'm anti-religious zealots or religious bigots, or how like religion has now become its own like it's effectively its own invisible partisan divide here, right? Like and it actually creates division rather than unity, at least in the most fringe factions, which is unfortunate, and I wish that weren't the case here. But religion does stem to a lot of historical causations of war, division, and etc. here. So there are plenty of arguments there, but obviously doesn't mean I want to abolish religion. It's more like I hate that it seems to like breed a lot of intolerance.
You know that like more wars and things are fought over literally every other division than religion, right? Like religion only is the cause of only like 6.5% of all wars in the history of wars. Did you know that?
Well, we'll have to go into that's not a stat that I've heard, but I guess that's another that could be another convo though. I don't mean to that's a pretty heavy-handed one here though. I'm not prepared to really make a because I know you're a religious guy here, and maybe if I've opened and admitted here that like I'm agnostic, or atheist adjacent here, I don't want to. That's going to be a lot of toes to hop on here. We have to probably save that one for a bit more prep on my end here.
I don't even think we need, because I don't think that's really debatable. Like I don't want to have a debate about whether, or, you know what I mean? Like that's just a basic stat that I gave. You could Google that, or you whatever. You know what I mean? But like, what I've always argued is that tribalism is what causes wars. Because the vast majority of wars are not religious, it's just tribal, right? Like people wanting land grabs, or people feeling like my country is my identity versus your country, and like that's normally what causes it. Division is tribal. Republican versus Democrat is tribal. Black versus white is tribal, and so on and so forth. Tribalism is gross, and we just find different ways of dividing ourselves on a regular basis. It's the Republican way. And watching Bernie give that speech like in 2003, I think it was like at a high school level, where he was like, Republicans can never admit what their actual agenda is. So they can't tell you, hey, we want to privatize education, we want to privatize healthcare, we want to privatize, whatever. We want to privatize everything so that we can, make more money, right? They can never tell you that. So instead, what they do is they divide you. They divide black versus white, straight versus gay, so on and so on. And he just goes through all these things, and he's like, and now you have these people fighting over these things. Meanwhile, that they're going all the way to the bank, with the wealthy are, because you guys are fighting against your own interests. Because Republicans package within all of their stuff whatever your belief is. Oh, abortion? Okay, I'm going to package that. But in the same time, I'm privatizing all of the things, all of the systems, so that way we can make money. And that's exactly what Republicans do.
Okay, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look into it then. I'll concede here because I don't want to. You're more prepared to engage this topic than I am. I didn't really mean to make it. I already don't really feel comfortable engaging in like a religious versus anti-religion thing. So I just kind of like
a real topic. No.
Yeah,
that's why I said it's a meme, bro. It's a meme.
It also feels personal. It's like it's not really what I want to like do. Like I need to like I have to like I want to be really prepared to like make sure I can engage in the substance and not like make it feel like I'm just like anti-religion because I'm not. But like yeah, I would need a bit more time to prepare for that a little bit more.
Yeah, but we're not about to have such a subjective conversation of religion. I just don't, because again, there's so much more stuff that we could talk about, like in politics. Religion is, like you said, very, very
yeah. There's much more urgent. Yeah, there's much more urgent topics to get into compared to that. It's minuscule compared to like what we're about to face over the next 2 years here. I'm kind of depressed. I have to constantly Google shit because now I already know it's going to be like E. coli outbreaks and just like completely non-regulations on just like consumption of food and shit like that. It's about to be like,
and that's why it's gross because before we even get to global warming, there's so much regulation that needs to be discussed before then, bro. There's so much more regulation and stuff that we know that is going to be harmful. That Republicans are constantly trying.
Your microphone.
That's a sign. I'm 100% going to change this cord. I have one down there. I just didn't know where it was, and I didn't want to replace it in the middle of the show. But look, I love you. I gotta go. I got prayer meeting like literally now, so I'm about to dip.
All right.
We'll be in touch, man.
Hey, bro. All right, bro. Sounds good, bro.